You've probably never heard of an eyeball planet, right? I mean, it sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. But what if I told you that scientists are starting to use that exact term to describe something new and, well, pretty dangerous that's happening right here on Earth? Let's get into it.
Okay, so let's just cut to the chase. Is our planet actually, growing an eye? Well, no, of course not. But, metaphorically speaking, the answer is a pretty unsettling yes. And honestly, this whole eyeball idea might be one of the best ways to really wrap your head around a huge shift that's happening to our global weather.
All right, so to really get what's going on here on Earth, we've actually got to take a little trip. We're going to leave our planet behind for a minute and look way out into deep space. Because out there, real eyeball planets exist, and understanding them is the key to understanding us. So what makes an eyeball planet an eyeball planet? It all comes down to something called tidal locking. You've actually seen this before. It's the exact same reason we only ever see one side of the moon. These planets are basically stuck in this intense gravitational dance with their star. One side is always facing the star, getting all that heat, and the other side, it's just frozen in permanent darkness. So you end up with a planet of just wild extremes. You've got the hot side, which is this scorched, maybe even molten landscape. That's the searing hot pupil of the eye. And then you have the cold side, a totally frozen wasteland, stuck in eternal night. It's like two completely different worlds on one single planet. Okay, so that's the alien version. Tidally locked, a world of extremes. Got it? Good. Now let's come back home. Because here's the unsettling part. That bizarre alien pattern, it's starting to look a whole lot like Earth. I want you to really picture this. A planet with a fixed, unblinking hotspot that just stares and stares at its sun. Think of it like a giant planetary pupil of just relentless, unending heat. That's the image we need to hold on to. And this is the big reveal. Earth isn't tidally locked, we know that. But our climate, it's starting to create the very same effect. A persistent, huge hotspot. We're literally forging our own version of that searing planetary pupil. So, let's nail this down. Earth is getting its own unblinking eye. But it's not because of gravity pulling us into some cosmic dance. No, it's because something is fundamentally changing in our atmosphere. This quote here really just nails it. The cause is totally different. It's not gravity, but the result? It's this spooky echo of a real eyeball planet. Our world is basically getting a permanent fever in one giant area, staring back at the sun in a way it never has before. Okay, so if it's not gravity, then what the heck is it, right? What's the engine behind all this? Well, the answer is way up in our atmosphere, and it's a process that is happening more and more often and with more and more power. It all comes down to something called a heat dome. And here's the simple version of how it works. You got the jet stream, right? That river of air high above us? Well, it starts to get weak and kind of wavy. When that happens, a giant high-pressure system can just get stuck. It stops moving. And then it acts just like a lid on a pot of boiling water. All that heat gets trapped underneath, and it just cooks and cooks, getting hotter every day. And voila, you get a massive, semi-permanent heat dome. That's the pupil of Earth's new eye.
And I really got to make this clear. We are not talking about a normal heat wave that lasts a few days. No way. This is a stable, locked-in atmospheric feature. It can sit there for weeks, creating what is essentially a semi-permanent hot side for an entire continent.
So, okay, eyeball planet is a pretty cool and terrifying metaphor. But what does it actually mean for you and me living down here on the ground? What happens when our planet gets a fever like this?
The numbers here are they're mind-boggling. We aren't talking about it being a little warmer than usual. Inside these things, the temperature can be 20, even 30 degrees Fahrenheit hotter than average. And it stays that way, not for a day or two, for weeks on end.
And the knock-on effects of that kind of locked-in heat, they're just brutal. It bakes the land, which means devastating long-term drought. It turns forests into tinderboxes, fueling wildfires that are almost impossible to control. It can cause entire harvests to fail in our most important farming regions. And get this, by messing with the weather patterns so much, this eye can actually cause massive floods right next door. It just puts everything we rely on, our power grids, our water, under an absolutely incredible amount of stress. So if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this. The whole eyeball thing, it isn't just a clever way to describe something. It's a literal engine for creating extreme weather. That hot, stuck pupil is actively pumping chaos and instability into the system all over the globe. It's a giant flashing warning sign that our climate is under an incredible amount of stress. And that leaves us with one final, pretty heavy question. This eye, it's a new feature of our world. It wasn't here before. And as it forms, and as it stares out into space, what kind of future is it seeing for all of us?